Hello and welcome to the New Normal with Steve Benaquist. I'm New Normal and this is the Steve Benaquist. Hello and welcome to the New Normal Lounge. And it's episode 114. That's episode 2 without Lyle Gerber, executive producer. I paused and took a sip there as I normally would when the title card shows and the exciting news music comes in, because this is your news and opinion show. It's your easy and quick guide to the ever-evolving new normal of these early 2020s. But yeah, Lyle Gerber's still out for his crazy April Fool's prank, and so there will be no music, there will be no edits, there will be no graphics, and that's, I'm very sorry to say, you have to take that punishment because of his foolhardiness 2 episodes ago. I'm not going to get into it, but I'll never eat any Asian-inspired food again, only actual Asian food. Taco Bell, on the other hand, I'll eat Mexican-inspired food all day. But Waba Grill, that's the only time I'll say it, as an F you to Lyle Gerber. We're done, we're moving on. So, today we're taping this here on Thursday, the 15th of April, which is, as every American knows, tax day. But don't sweat, don't get your panties in a bunch if you didn't get your things in today, all filed, because just like last year, we got an extension. So you got till May 17th, and of course you could just request an extension in any case. So I will be talking about my taxes a little bit later on, unlike certain politicians. Or at least I'll be talking about my tax guy, soon-to-be ex-tax guy, and his fake Jamaican accent, first heard last week. Also, we'll have a COVID update, how everything's doing around the country. Everyone's relying on the vaccine and little else, and people are freaking out about Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We'll get to that. We're going to look into headlines about the death of a Putin critic in London. More on that later. And lastly, my new film segment, Spoiler Alert, will cap us off. So, well, first off, let's get into the COVID update, because that's the thing that we all love to think about 24/7, right? Or at least we have to. So last week, California was doing great. We were one of the many states that was coming down in numbers. And my beloved Northeast, where most of my peoples that aren't here are, the Northeast quadrant of these United States, which had been doing so well, was doing badly. And now it's the reverse. California and many states are getting worse. The Northeast has it back under control. And I read an alarming headline today that said people are relying solely on the vaccine, like masks, to whatever extent that they had sway, are starting to go out the window, and people are just crossing their fingers and putting their shoulder out for the jab. And if you'll allow me an analogy between the prevention of COVID and the prevention of birth, I would liken the mask to a condom. Although in most normal sexual circumstances, only one party needs one, I suppose your chances of preventing anything bad happening would be all the better if everyone is wearing some appropriate covering device. So there's that. Then, remaining home alone all the time, as people with really sensitive immune systems may have, and that's like abstinence, only in the case of COVID it works. And I would liken the vaccine to the pill. Now, the pill, as a preventative measure, 99% effective. And the COVID vaccines, I think all 3 of them are about 95%. But the exposure to COVID is every time you're within 6 feet of someone with your mask off. The exposure for the pill is every time you're within 6 inches of someone with your clothes off. 7, 8. Anyway, moving on, we'll talk about the COVID vaccine from Johnson & Johnson. Now, people are freaking out because a very tiny number of women have gotten blood clots soon after taking the Johnson & Johnson jab. But causality is not proved. And I'm going to talk a little about correlation versus causality, because that is something that statisticians and people wanting to sell things or freak you out about things have been really stretching the limits of, I think, the last 10, 20 years especially. It's not proved that they cause blood clots. They have blood clots, and they did just take it, but these vaccines are a new thing, and the rates are so low. They're lower than, it's like 1 in a million who get the Johnson & Johnson jab may get a blood clot. 1 in 1,000 who take the pill, we're back talking about the pill, women who take the pill may get blood clots. So you see, you haven't established the cause. For example, 9.6% of Star Wars fans are severely obese. Now, I guess we can just say that, Star Wars fans beware, Jabba made me do it. Or you could look at the fact also that the general population of America stands at about 9.6% severely obese. But maybe that's no coincidence. Maybe if it weren't for George meddling Lucas, we'd have a lot slimmer of a nation. If you look at a chart, which again, no production, so I can't put it up, but you'll see that rates of obesity back in 1977 when that film came out, it was part 4, but it's really the first one. It's a lot of Rick rolling. Anyway, you see, America was by proportion much less obese then, and it just goes up with each sequel that comes out. And so clearly we've established correlation, not causality. So go get that jab, man. Live your life. You might get hit by a bus, and then the blood clot would save you. It would, All right, moving on. Let's talk about taxes. As I was saying last week, I haven't done my own taxes for a while. I've been going to a guy, but I'm a little worried that this guy that I was intending to use, and I don't want to say his name. I don't want to cost him business, but I just want to play you, and I need feedback. If you want to, put it in the comments on the YouTube or on Instagram or whatever, on Facebook. And by the way, yeah, please like, subscribe, follow these things. Forgot to plug the show a little bit. Do those things so you don't miss an episode. Sometimes I pop out with little extra ones. It's not only on Fridays at noon here on NBC. Anyway, I'm a little worried because, to my knowledge, this guy is not Jamaican. And he may be good with numbers. I'm not good enough with numbers myself to say whether he's been doing a good job with my taxes. But let me just play you this message. He left me another phone message because I do know it got extended, so I got a little time. Here it is. Again, not going to say his name. Please listen and give me your feedback.
Good boy, Steve Benaquist to the Babylon. I learned. Stop saying you have not given me hand your paperwork. Panic mode. Just kidding. You got a extension till May 17th. This is your tax guy, David Young. Anyway, be sure and get me a complete list of your business mileage, car rentals, tolls, and petrol receipts for your travel deduction. Bumbaclot.
Anyway, see, David Yang, I guess, with the word is out. He does not appear to be Jamaican in any way. Nothing against Jamaicans. Nothing against the beautiful Jamaican accent. Nothing against choosing your own identity, I guess. But I'm a little wary. Please tell me what you think. I don't know if I can handle my taxes by myself, and it's so hard to find someone who's recommended, like David Yang. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about a Putin critic who was assassinated in London. This is a BBC headline, and again, I wish I had editing. I would show it to you. But to look it up, this is a BBC headline. Nikolai Glushkov, Putin critic, in quotes, strangled in London home by third party. I'll say it again. Nikolai Glushkov, Putin critic, strangled in home in London by third party. What happened to the second party? I mean, you have the strangled party, and you have the strangling party. Is the second party just standing there watching? I I'd like to think the strangler's a pretty important part of this whole equation. And by the way, as long as they're assuming that there is a second party and a third party, and they don't know who this third party is, we can't be sure. We can't rule out that Nikolai Glushkov might have just choked on his own name, which I'm told by my good friend and Russian expert that a Glushatel, pretty close, is a silencer in Russian. So there you go. Maybe the Glushatel Glushkov. Anyway, I think that it's a shame when someone does something so life-changing as strangling another person to death, and they get written off as a second party. You know, who does a guy have to strangle around here to get top billing? I would say strangler comes first, then victim. And I don't know who the third party is. If there's anyone else around, that's a third party. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. BBC editorial staff, if you're listening, I don't know. I disagree with your ranking system. Okay, moving on to our final segment of the show, and that is spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. In this segment, I will be revealing the whole plot and ruining films. So don't listen. Pause this if you're going to watch. And today's movie is The Fallen Sparrow, 1943, starring John Garfield. And I'm whispering, keeping my voice low, so that if anyone around you is watching that movie right now, or plans to, or maybe rented it or bought it, that this won't ruin it for them. And also, maybe if you yourself wanted to watch it, but you don't want it ruined for you, I don't want to, here's the thing, keep it on the QT, on the DL, and I don't know what those letters stand for, but Fallen Sparrow starring John Garfield. John Garfield, it's 1943, but it takes place in 1940, before America was in the war by almost 2 years. But he is an idealistic young man who went off, like many Americans did, and fought in the Lincoln Brigade in the Spanish Civil War, which was fascists who won the war against Republicans, which in the Spanish context meant socialists. And so this was a proxy war for World War II, like a run-up, a practice, and there were Germans were heavily invested, and they tested torture techniques, which is a big thing. So he was captured and tortured, and he comes back, and he wants to avenge the death of his friend, and it's very complicated. It's everything. It's almost a noir. It pretty much is a noir, but he, instead of Philip Marlowe, he does everything that a private dick does, except he's just a soldier. He's just a guy who says, "So I can shoot people, baby," when the cop asks him why he has a license to carry, right? So he's tough. And John Garfield really was tough, and he really was liberal, the actor. He was a tough, slight of build Jewish guy who was very politically liberal, not a communist, but did get blacklisted later in life, died young, and he tended to make movies that reflected his political ideals. And this is mainly, I was looking it up, I fall into wormholes, I read the IMDb entries. There was an otherwise well-written critique of the film from some user who said that he thought that the film it was ridiculous that, spoiler, there was a flag being chased down, that was the object, the Maltese Falcon of this thing. And I say, no, that's absolutely fine. That doesn't make it ridiculous. I think that the goals of the Nazis were so often actually symbolic, that they would go to the ends of the earth for some stupid thing. That a movie like this, it's just like the Ark of the Covenant, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's the same deal. Even back then, people knew the Nazis were obsessed. I just read a book where, this is a true story, they flew planes over Antarctica throwing down metal markers with swastikas on them just to prove that they'd been there. So they were heavy into symbolism. So I say, good movie. It was also about the symbolism of the old order. There's a lot of defunct royals among the villains of this movie. And it's a pretty good watch. John Garfield's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's been spoiler alert. Too bad there's no graphics this week. And that just about wraps up this week's episode of The New Normal with Steve Benaquist. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe. And till next time, I'm Steve Benaquist reminding you that if it ain't new, it ain't normal.